Hi, welcome back. Well, Arknights Enfield's combat system is getting a lot of bad faith arguments from people who have no idea how to play the game, and so today I'm gonna give you a list of the best teams for every 6-star DPS in Arknights Enfield, not only so you can do as much damage as possible, but also so you can actually experience the true combat system in the game and have some real fun instead of doom posting online like a nerd. The 6-star operators that we'll be looking at are Administrator, Lava Cake, Class Stride, and Yvon. There aren't too many, so at the end of the video I'll also show you a couple extra teams that do not actually need a 6-star DPS unit to function. Now you might be excited about me telling you how to play your favorite characters, so if you are going to swipe for your new anime girlfriend, let me introduce you to rushbuy.gg. Rushbuy is a safe and reliable top-up site that includes all of your favorite gacha and live service games, and now it also has deals for Arknights Endfield. They've got discounts up to 23% for this game, meaning you can get the $70 Origeometry pack for $15 cheaper than the in-game store. All you gotta do is enter your server, email, password, and UID, and your pack will be delivered within minutes of purchasing. Rushbuy is also very credible. Not only do they have a whole page explaining how safe their entire system is, and even if you do have any issues, then they have a support team dedicated to helping you, but they've also got a 4.8 star rating on Trustpilot. Look, this person even bought pulls for the wrong game, and the support team still helped them switch over. Now head over to Rushbuy and top up using my code to get a further 15% discount and save some real money on gacha games. Now let's get into it. So first off, let's talk about the Ping Administrator. This little cutie, or this little handsome fella, are a physical unit, and honestly, I haven't tried physical teams too much, but they have a lot of options, and physical teams are also a little weird in that they are all kind of both DPS units and support units. Look, I may be wrong, I never tried these too much because I didn't get my POG, but either way, I can still help you out with the best units for physical teams. The whole gist behind these teams is applying several vulnerability stacks. Hitting an enemy with a physical status makes them vulnerable, then a vulnerable enemy can be lifted and knocked down to add more vulnerable stacks, then crushed and breached to consume the vulnerable stacks and deal damage. What I would do is have 3 characters lifting and knocking down, then 1 character crushing and breaching to be the main DPS, but the most common team you'll find is a team of Endmin, Depan, Chen, and Pogranichnik, having 2 crush units, 1 lift unit, and 1 breach unit. This team is mega F2P friendly and it still works pretty well, but I prefer different formulas. If I had every physical unit and had an opportunity to create the best physical team, in my opinion, I would use Pogranichnik not only for his breach but also his Vanguard abilities, which is the strongest class in the game. I'd use Chen for her lift and because she's free, I'd use Li Feng for his knockdowns and great support capabilities for physical damage, and Ember would be a great sustain for this team, having the abilities to not only knock me out but also knock down enemies despite being a heat unit. But if you believe you have enough skill to keep surviving, then you can use Endmin or Depan instead of her, being much closer to the original most common physical team. I'll have to test these physical teams out a lot more when my account is much more fleshed out, so in due time when I create another one of these videos, stay tuned. Now let's talk about the teams I have a lot more experience with, and I can provide much deeper guides for these. First off, Lava Cake. There's really only one best team for her, but I'll give a couple other options. The absolute best one is definitely her, along with Wolfguard, Akakuri, and Ardelia. This is an incredibly player-friendly team, and it's also made much better if you have Ardelia's P1. Lavatane's whole gist is simply applying as much combustion and corrosion as possible, and this team is the best at that. Wolfguard applies combustion with his ultimate, but consumes it with his skill, so you should be careful about using Lavatane's combo skill before any Wolfguard battle skill. Ardelia's battle skill also consumes her corrosion, so again, for the first rotation you always want to use Lavatane's combo skill first. There is also a delay of corrosion application when Ardelia first hits an enemy with her combo skill, so be on the lookout for that and don't be hasty. After the first rotation, you can use both battle skills of Wolfguard and Ardelia, increasing your damage and then reapply the combustion and corrosion. Now in battle, things will go by a lot faster, and you'll do things both right and wrong, but you are able to still beat the content, so don't stress about the details too much unless you're a min-maxer. Finally, Lava Cake gains stacks of Melting Flame when she hits enemies with her combo or battle skill, which levels up her skill to allow it to apply combustion, and also gives her ultimate energy. I only advise you use Akakuri's battle skill though if you're close to casting her ultimate. Also, only use Ardelia's skill when enemies run out of the susceptibility she applies and when you need her healing. Her ultimate is also only when you really need healing. Other team members that would be useful for Lava Cake include Antal, a great heat and electric damage amplifier, and he's basically the only other team member I could think of being useful for now. Teambuilding might seem a little rigid in Endfield right now, but it is still very accessible. There's 2 paths that could go down in the future, where either teams are super mega rigid and no matter how many characters you have, a 6-star operator will only ever use their 3 best teammates, or will go down a path of having characters do many different jobs and having many different teams for different scenarios for each DPS unit. But now, let's move on. Last is probably my favorite playstyle in the entire game, even though I don't like her personality too much. This is a much simpler and easier kit to digest than Lava Cakes, and it flows very nicely together with the team. The best teams for her are either her along with Zaihi, Fluorite and Snowshine, or Ardelia instead of Snowshine. I personally like Snowshine more because she allows Last to proc her combo skill much more frequently, and is also probably my favorite kit in the entire game because of the parry. But Ardelia is also great because she's really good as a debuffer or buffer. You do want to be really careful about Last skill though, as the best application for it is while she's doing her attack. Her skill is not an active skill yet an additional attack on top of her final attack, and you can only apply it while doing her attack string. The best rotation for this team will be applying Zaihi's skill at the start of the battle, followed by Last skill or final strike, which will apply one cryo stack. When SP is regenerated, apply Snowshine's skill while the enemy is about to hit, parrying and applying another cryo burst stack. When Last does a second final strike, Zaihi's combo skill will activate, applying another cryo burst stack. At 3, you can apply Last combo skill. If you dodge well enough and hit the enemies fast enough, then by the time you apply Zaihi's skill, Fluorite's combo skill will also have activated, bringing you up to 4 cryo stacks, which will increase the damage of Last combo skill even more. After Last consumes her combo skill, proc her ultimate if you have it, because her talent applies cryo susceptibility on the target after the combo skill, which means you just dealt the most amount of damage you could, but also with Zaihi's burst up as well, and the best activation time for it would be right before you do Last combo skill and ultimate. Last tips for this team is never use Fluorite's skill as it's really useless and a waste of SP, and you really have to be careful about when you use Snowshine's skill to never waste SP and a cryo burst as well. Finally, as I said, you can of course use Ardelia for her amps, but I found with this team you can proc way more battle skills, and Zaihi's amps alone can still allow the team to do a lot of damage. If you're not confident with your parry skills with Snowshine, then Ardelia is a much better choice. Finally, let's talk about my wife Yvon, my favorite character in the entire game with the best gacha character introduction in a story of all time. So Yvonne's entire shtick is wanting to final strike an ult on a solidified enemy, and luckily her skill solidifies any enemy that has a nature or cryo infliction. Gilberta is a great support unit for Yvonne, applying nature infliction with her skill and ultimate, which then Yvonne can solidify with her skill and do all the stuff she wants to do. But since she's not out yet, and only about I would think 1 in 14 F2P players would have her, if I'm doing the math correctly, then Estella is an okay character to use with her. However, Estella is much more of a physical damage buffer, and the only thing she really gives Yvonne is solidification, which other characters can do as well and provide much better stuff than Estella does. Estella is much better used in a Shatter team, not a Yvonne team. Zaihi is instantly going to be Yvonne's best support unit, but only on the 3rd final strike for Yvonne, so to apply solidification very early, you want to use characters like Snowshine, Last again Gilberta, or Fluorite who applies nature infliction, but that's all she would do for the team. Snowshine can protect and heal and also apply solidification with her ultimate. Last can deal a great amount of damage herself, but I don't think you'll be able to proc her combo skill too much because Yvonne consumes cryo infliction stacks. You might look at Ailash and think he's also good here, but just like Estella, he's much better in a Shadow team, not a Yvonne team. So the best absolute team I could think of for Yvonne right now would be Yvonne, Zaihi, Snowshine, and Gilberta. For those that don't have Gilberta, you could use Estella for more cryo infliction, but it's totally enough with Zaihi and Snowshine, and you could also use Ardelia instead for a bunch of amps and more heals. The rotation would be first using Zaihi's skill, then Snowshine's skill when the enemy is about to hit, applying cryo infliction, then Yvonne's skill, solidifying the enemy. Then you can last strike with Yvonne applying her combo skill. She gets ultimate energy after a Frosty Bitey also solidifies the enemy, which means you then can use her ultimate if you have enough energy. Ardelia is there for susceptibility whenever possible and heals. And now for the non-6-star DPS unit teams. You can use Aviwena with Arknights, Perlica and Antal for an insanely powerful electric team, and you can use the aforementioned Shadow team with Ailash, Estella, and any of the other non-6-star physical units, and so far in Arknights Endfield, this is where my imagination is going to stop. So let me know if you have any other team ideas in the comments. And that should be everything I have for you today. I don't know, I feel like I made a mistake in there somewhere, especially in the physical teams, so please correct me if I did. Let's all welcome discussions in the Endfield community, as this community really needs to come together while the game is getting so heavily doom posted right now. So thank you for watching, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this in the future, and join the Express Train Discord server for a fun and lovely community to hang out with. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you next time.